Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today I want to speak in English for those Korean Americans and those Koreans who are living abroad and wishing for the peace on the Korean Peninsula. I will start today my political diplomatic comment by introducing my own poem with the title of The Morning Sun of the Han River. I wrote this poem this morning on my way to my office from my hometown. I see peace in the storm. Is the sunlight from somewhere? It's a gift from the sun. Even the fish relaxes peacefully. The birds are flying over the Han River. They refuse living this peace as if they are disappointed. Wandering on the surface of the Han River, a bird cry many times. What kind of peace is this? I think it's a peace from heaven. This peace from heaven should early people wake up this. I don't want to break this peace. I will keep it until the end. Don't keep this peace gone away. Poet Park Tae-woo on June 17th. I wrote this poem this morning. I want you to enjoy this short poem written by myself. Well, I'd like to talk on the issue of Israel-Iran military conflict going on now. Even Donald Trump, who joined in the G7 summit in Canada, left the conference room one day earlier because the tensions in the Middle East is going higher up. For those two countries, Iran and Israel are exchanging missiles and they are escalating more tensions there. So let me introduce the Michael Froman's, small writing. It was written in Rand Corporation 13th, about 5 days ago. He wrote this column introducing the start of the Iran-Israel military conflict. He began by saying that last night Israel began a sweeping series of direct attacks against Iran. Although the smoke has yet to fully clear, Council on Foreign Relations leading regional expert convened this morning to discuss what we know so far and what to expect moving forward. This morning means June 13th morning. And what happened then? Why now? What happened then? Why now? Talk of a potential strike by Israel on Iran has been around for years, decade even. So why now? Why did it happen right now? There are a number of plausible reasons. The expiration yesterday of President Donald Trump's 60-day deadline for nuclear negotiations with the regime removed the potential objection from the US that Israel was undermining his diplomatic initiative. In addition, the highly unusual censure from the International Atomic Energy Agency earlier this week that Iran had taken steps toward further concealing its nuclear enrichment activities and potentially accelerating its nuclear weapons program was another action-forcing event. More broadly speaking, the rules of the game in the Middle East have fundamentally changed over the last couple of years. As Stephen Cook and Elliot Abrams observed in a post-October 7 world, Israel has enjoyed significant successes in unilaterally exercising its military capabilities to destroy its two most proximate foes, Hamas and Hezbollah, and shattering Iran's broader proxy network in the region. Iran proper was always going to be a harder target, but as Elliot noted, after a steady stream of surgical strikes, including October and April 2024 operations, which destroyed much of Iran's advanced air defense network, Israel may have decided they had a window of opportunity which could at home point close. So the Israelis took a bet on Trump, having earlier opposed an attack. Trump ultimately called it excellent, as Elliott put it. This is a little bit reminiscent to me of 2007 Israeli attack on the Syrian nuclear reactor, because President Bush, George W. Bush, said to them, "We are going to do diplomacy. We are going to go to IAEA. We are going to go UN." And the Israeli response was, no, that's not good enough. We are going to take it out. And Bush's response was, okay, you do what you have to do. So, what does it mean for Iran, this kind of Israeli actions? This was the single most devastating attack, both on a series of targets and on the legitimacy of the regime itself. Just consider the preliminary battle damage assessment. Wake of Israel's strikes. It has started to retaliate with missiles, but given the success of Israel's attacks on its missile capabilities, it might find its options more limited than they were 1 year ago. And it looks like the US military and the coalition of other countries in the region have once again come to repel Iranian missiles and drones. As for other forms of retaliation, as Henry Bakerley notes, Iran could also exact a price on Israel, using its remaining regional proxies. But those forces are a shadow of what they were before October 7th. This is all to say, Iran's ability to deliver a proportionate counterpunch is very much in doubt, and they appear weaker now than at any point in recent memory. Then there is Iran's nuclear dilemma. To the degree Iran maintains a fissile material stockpile and enrichment capabilities, do they make a mad dash for the bomb now, or maintain the Ayatollah's strategic doctrine of remaining just below the nuclear threshold? Iran is still a party to the Non-Proliferation Treaty, at least on paper. But the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, has now reported that Iran was in a breach of its non-proliferation obligations, failing to report details about its nuclear materials and activities. Does Iran pull out of the treaty altogether? As for the legitimacy and the stability of the Iranian regime itself, Stephen observed, I think that the Israelis are seeking to gradually weaken the regime, if not by use of its last night. By use of its military force, to actually create the conditions in which it could be overthrown by the Iranian people, of course. Politically, there is no shortage of compounding pressures at home, including now strained civil-military relations and the state-civil society relations. The combination of economic pressures, the failure to defend the country from attack, and the potential that the billions of dollars invested in its nuclear program might all have been for naught, raises questions from all sectors of Iranian society. The stakes are high for the supreme leader. As Ray Takeya commented, the regime's pathologies are too numerous to be chronicled on a single page. The bond between state and society have been severed long ago. Now the question is, can society overwhelm the state even in its weakened condition? What is the Israel's angle then about this issue? We know Israel has signaled its plans to continue striking target in Iran. We don't know Israel's tolerance for Iranians' retaliation. They have vowed in the Israeli press to target Iranian oil infrastructure and even the Ayatollah himself in the event of a significant Iranian retaliation, especially against the population centers. But this would mark a dramatic escalation, which would likely be opposed by the United States and the countries in the region. The extent to which Iranian missiles, which have already begun to land in Tel Aviv, cause civilian and military casualties in Israel, will be key, the extent to which. What does this mean for the United States then? What are the implications for the United States? The United States don't actively participate in Israel's strikes against Iran, but President Trump made clear he would defend Israel from Iranian retaliation and urged Iran to come to the nuclear negotiating table in haste with a proposal that could satisfy the United States and Israel's terms. As he wrote in Truth Social earlier today, there has already been great deaths and destruction, but there is still time to make this slaughter, with the next already planned attacks being even more brutal, come to an end. Iran must make a deal before there is nothing left and save what was once known as the Iranian Empire. We shouldn't, however, expect the United States to become an active participant in an offensive against Iran, at least for now. As President Trump's former special representative for Iran noted, the only thing, in my opinion, that gets us to attack Iran is if they kill Americans or try to. And I still don't think they are crazy enough to do that. I hope I'm not. So, what does this mean for the region, for the Middle East? It's too soon to tell how exactly the current wave of Israeli attack strikes could transform the region. But one thing is clear. Israel's actions have fundamentally reshaped the security landscape and of the Middle East and in the span of less than 2 years. As Ed Hussein observed, we have witnessed the end of multiple Iran-aligned regimes and proxies and the coming together of US-aligned powers, including Gulf states, to uphold the security infrastructure in the region that the Iranian government wants to see destroyed. So, on balance, what the Israelis did last night consolidated a dominant American security infrastructure in the region. A full-blown regional war is certainly possible, but with Iran's retaliatory and defensive capabilities in doubt, it's unclear if they would be able or inclined to start one. Whether a new stable order forms or a new rules wield a more volatile situation remains to be seen. We will know a lot more in the coming weeks. This was written about 5 days ago by an expert on the Middle Eastern conflict. So, the tension has been risen, and even United States President Donald Trump, left G7 summit 1 day earlier than expected to remain there. Then the issue is becoming more and more heated up. All the concerned parties in international politics are paying much more attention to the Iran-Israel war. What are the impact of this war on the Korean question? Well, we all understand Iran is aligned with North Korea, People's Republic of China, Russia. It means that they are hostile to the international position of the United States and the G7 countries. South Korea is more inclined to be in the G7 countries' logic. We have a strong alliance system with the United States. Then it means that if the war continues to escalate into more expanded war, and if the world structure is divided into this kind of authoritarian to democratic circles, centering around the United States, South Korea should raise more voices to support the United States position in international politics. Otherwise, we will be losing international competitiveness, especially those, very, very sensitive industrial sectors like semiconductors, batteries, and the bio sectors, and so on, Especially United States is trying to give us a big advantage on shipbuilding areas. Well, this is not a small issue to South Korean national interest. This is a big issue to our national interest. So we have to watch closely what is going to happen in the future, the war between the two countries, Iran and Israel. So let me suggest that our government must make very, very prudent remarks regarding all these kind of issues, because a new Cold War structure has emerged enough to be called a Cold War structure already. So we have to watch. And military conflicts are happening in Ukraine and in the Middle East. Why not in the Taiwan Strait, and why not on the Korean Peninsula? It's a very sensitive issue we have to watch closely. I read one poem, thinking of the importance of a peace, by the name of a poet Park Dae-woo. If I interpret the poem I read in English like this, 한강의 아침 햇살. 폭풍 속의 평화구나. 어디서 날아온 햇살인고? 태양이 던져두는 선물이구나. 물고기도 평온하게 휴식을 취하네. 한강 위를 날아가는 새도 이 평화를 떠나는 것이 못내 아쉬운 듯이 한강 수면 위를 배워하며 울기를 수차례 반복하는구나. 이 평화가 어떤 평화인가? 하늘에서 준 이 평화를 못난 사람들이 깼어야 되는가? 이 평화를 깨지 말아야지. 끝까지 지켜야지. 지키고 말고 이 평화를 지키고 말고. The morning sun of the Han River. I see peace in the storm. It's the sunlight from somewhere. It's a gift from the sun. Even the fish relaxes peacefully. Birds are flying over the Han River. They refuse leaving this peace somewhere as if they are disappointed. Wandering on the surface of the Han River, birds are crying many times. What kind of peace is this? What kind of peace is this? I think it's a peace from heaven. This peace from heaven. Should ugly people wake up this? I don't want to break this peace. I'll keep it until the end. Don't keep this peace gone away from us. Well, today I introduced my own poem I wrote this morning on my way to my office, watching over Han River's sunlight with peace there. And I introduced a very famous English article written about 5 days ago on the issue of Iran-Israeli conflict. There are many lessons we have to learn from this kind of event. Conflict, wars, going on around us. Have a nice evening. Thank you very much. See you next time.